All right, Shalom, Yasharallah, all praise to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'asham, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the Father and the Son in the Paleo Hebrew tongue. Today we're going to do a lesson on adultery, and it's called Adultery, a Sure Path to Death. All right, so we're going to jump right into it and start on Exodus chapter 20 and verse 14.
This is Exodus chapter 20, verse 14. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
So thou shalt not commit adultery. Right, this lesson, the Most High put it on my spirit to do, because just in the last probably about month and a half, it's came to my knowledge that so-called people in the truth, or claiming to walk in the truth of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, have committed adultery, physical adultery. Right, we're gonna focus on physical adultery, not as much as spiritual, right, like cheating on the Most High with other doctrines, other gods, etc. We're going to focus on the physical. All right, so let's go ahead and go to Proverbs 6 and 32. Proverbs 6 and 32. Lonnie Love, Shalom, sis. Invictus 47. I believe your brother, Shalom. Hope all is well with y'all.
This is Proverbs chapter 6, verse 32. But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul.
So whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. So this is a huge problem amongst people that claim to be in the truth. Like I've said many times before, just because you have knowledge doesn't mean you have understanding or you have wisdom. Knowledge is just, I know the scriptures. I know that in Exodus, the 20th chapter, it says, don't commit adultery, right? But you have to have understanding and you have to have wisdom in order to live that out, right? So it says, but whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. Because what you have to understand, especially talking to the brothers first of all, right? When you commit adultery with another man's woman, okay, not only are you committing adultery, you're committing fornication, you're coveting, you're stealing a man's wife for that period of time. You're stacking sin upon sin upon sin upon sin, right? You're also breaking a covenant, because that's what a marriage is supposed to be, a marriage covenant, right? It's supposed to be for life. Like we went over in the last live we did, a woman is bound to her husband for as long as he lives. So what you're doing as a man by taking another man's wife and laying with her, you are breaking that covenant, a covenant that was made before the Most High, right? A covenant that was made in Genesis, in the first book of the whole word, right? Go ahead and read it again up.
But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul.
So if you commit adultery with another man's wife, and the Most High obviously he sees everything, right? And you do not sincerely repent of that, man, your soul is going to be destroyed. And who knows if the Most High even lets you repent of that, right? Because like we read in Hebrews, the 10th chapter. Actually, if you want to get that real quick, Hebrews 10 and 26. One more time, just so it'll be on this live in case y'all didn't hear it on the last one. Shalom to the brother Drea. Hope all's well with your house out.
This is Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
Go ahead.
But a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries.
That's what you have to look forward to, right? A fiery indignation that's going to devour the Most High's adversaries. So when you're breaking a covenant that was made under the Most High, because if these two people were in the truth, right, so-called in the truth, or striving to follow Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and then you break that covenant by going and laying with that woman, then that's what you have to look forward to, a fiery indignation, unless the Most High has more mercy than any of us brothers could have, right? Obviously, his mercy and his love exceeds ours. But if he allows that, if he allows
That's a
that,
big if.
it's a big if. But let's go ahead and go to Matthew 16 and 4. Because we're living in an adulterous generation right now. Everything that we see from TV, anything with media, social media, anything like that, is to get you to commit adultery, fornication, acts and lust of the flesh. Go ahead.
This is Matthew chapter 16, verse 4. A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. And he left them and departed.
A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, right? And I've talked to many brothers and sisters about this. We shouldn't be seeking after a sign. Like, well, if the Most High gives me a sign to do this, then I'll do it, right? Is it not a big enough of a sign that you're in the truth, that you've been woken up to know you're an Israelite, to know we're in the last days?
It's signs all around. If you think about it.
There's sign, right? When you're seeking a sign, right, it's letting you know a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. And then it says, no sign shall be given but the sign of the prophet Jonas. So go ahead and go to chapter 12 and verse 40. It says, no sign shall be given but the sign of the prophet Jonas. Now, of course, the Most High gives us signs, but it's when he wants to, right? We can't just force the Most High and ask him for a sign. Go ahead.
This is Matthew chapter 12, verse 40. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth.
So Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, and so was Yahushua, right? In the heart of the earth is what it says, and then he was resurrected, right? So the story of Jonas was alluding symbolically to Yahushua, right? But also, what was the sign that Jonas gave? That Jonah gave, right? Go ahead and go to Jonah chapter 3, and you can start on 1. The sign of Jonah is also what we are doing right now. The sign of Jonah is what any brother that's speaking and telling people to repent and telling people to follow the Most High's word, that is the sign of Jonah.
This is Jonah chapter 3, verse 1. And the word of the Most High came unto Jonah the second time, saying, Arise, go into Nineveh, that great city, and preach unto it the preaching that I bid thee.
So the Most High is getting or putting the spirit on certain brothers to preach his word, the word that he gives them, right? So certain things always pop up to where the Most High puts the spirit on me to do certain lessons on certain topics, because I see that certain things need to be spoken of, because multiple accounts going against a certain topic of the Most High's word are being played out right before me, right? Go ahead.
So Jonah arose and went unto Nineveh, according to the word of the Most High. Now Nineveh was an exceeding great city of 3 days' journey. And Jonah began to enter into the city a day's journey, and he cried and said, Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown.
So that's what we're saying right now, right? We're not saying in 40 days, because no man knows the hour, not even the angels in heaven. Only the Father knows when this place is going to be destroyed, right? But we are saying that destruction is nearer and nearer and nearer every single day, right? And adultery is not something that you want to play with in these last days. Go ahead.
So the people of Nineveh believed Yahweh and proclaimed a fast and put on sackcloth from the greatest of them even to the least of them.
So the people of Nineveh believed Yahweh when Jonah was preaching to them. When he said, y'all are going to be destroyed if you don't repent, right? Which is exactly, if you want to go to Luke 13, that's exactly what Yahushua said as well, which is why the whole story of Jonah actually alludes to Yahushua, right? And I think I did a lesson on Jonah, but it was back when I would do Zoom calls. So most I willing, maybe I'll do one. I'll go over read the whole book pretty soon. Go ahead.
This is Luke 13, verse 1.
Verse 3, Salaki.
Salaki, verse 3. I tell you, nay, but except ye repent, ye shall in Salakia, ye shall all likewise perish.
Go ahead and read verse 5.
I tell you, nay, but except ye repent, ye shall all likewise perish.
So if you don't repent sincerely of any sins, but especially adultery, Yahushua said it 2 times. Why? Because we're hard-headed and we're stiff-necked, right? And he's doing the same thing that Jonah did. He went into the city, he went into Nineveh, and he was telling the people what the Most High said. But why did Yahushua repeat himself twice? Because we're hard-headed and stiff-necked. You want to go to Ezekiel chapter 3. Hard-headed and stiff-necked. This is what people are when they know of the truth. They've been in the truth for whatever amount or period of time, and they still go out and sleep with another man's wife, or they still go and lust after another man's wife, or a woman will still go out and cheat on her husband, right? She will still go out and commit adultery on her covering, on her head, on the one who possesses her. Go ahead.
This is Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 1.
Or Salakia, start on 4.
Salakia, verse 4. And he said unto me, Son of man, go get thee unto the house of Israel and speak with my words unto them.
This is exactly what Jonah did, right? Remember it said that the sign of Jonah would be given to the wicked and adulterous generation. Go ahead.
For thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech and of a hard language, but to the house of Israel. Not to many people of a strange speech and of an hard language, whose words thou cannot understand. Surely had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee. But the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me.
Why?
For all the house of Israel are impotent and hard-hearted.
They're impotent and hard-hearted. Go ahead.
Behold, I have made thy face strong against their faces, and thy forehead strong against their foreheads. As an adamant harder than flint have I made thy forehead. Fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house.
So Israel is a rebellious house. What verse was that?
That was verse 9.
Go ahead and go to 11.
Fine. And go, get thee to them of the captivity unto thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them, thus saith Yahweh, the Most High, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear.
So whether they'll hear or whether they will forbear. So let me ask a question, right? What do y'all think is one of the main ways? And Salaki, I just saw that comment. Invictus 47. Can you do a Q&A at the end of this lesson if you have time? Come. It doesn't run. It shouldn't run that long. We should have time for that, art. What do y'all think is one of the most common ways that adultery is played out in this day and age? What do y'all think is one of the most common ways or means that adultery happens in the time we're living in right now? Because think about it, back then, they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have internet, they didn't have social media, they didn't have all the different things, the different devices that we have. But it was still, adultery was still something that was happening all the time. So look at how much worse it's gotten through all of these devices. All right, go ahead and go to Psalm 101 and 3. A lot of times adultery is something that you actually seek for, right? As a man, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly. Janelle Marie, social media, Khan, I definitely say that's one of them. Social media, definitely one of them. I would say that since social media has popped up, like just think about, I was talking to a brother about this probably a few months back, and we were just trying to guess, right? Like think about how many times somebody's committed adultery because of social media. It starts on social media, right? They start looking at a female. Oh, she looks good. Oh, she says married. Or oh, it doesn't say married. She doesn't even have that she's married, right? And then he starts lusting after her. And that's where it starts. And then it just goes from there.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Psalm 101 and 3. I will set no wicked thing before mine eyes. I hate the work of them that turn aside. It shall not cleave to me.
So this is the type of spirit that we have to be in a hypersexualized society, especially for brothers, of course for sisters as well. But as a man and you being trying to be or striving to be a man of the Most High, lust is one of Satan's, if not Satan's, most powerful weapon against men in this day and age. Because, like I said before, he has social media, TV, movies. You just go outside, you go to the store, and you're gonna see half naked chicks everywhere.
And so, like, just to add on to what you're saying about that, I think what men also got to realize too, with social media and seeing certain women dressed in a certain type of way, or whatever you lay your eyes on, when it comes to adultery, it doesn't necessarily mean just looking at somebody, because you look at everybody when you walk past anybody. It's more so just having a strong sexual desire for that person that you're looking at.
Time for sure. And that's the best example I could give of that is like if I'm out with my daughters, right, which are my two oldest daughters are 12 and 13. If I see or they see a woman and she's like in a modest dress or a modest skirt or something like that, either they'll tell me, "Oh, look at her, she looks pretty, right?" Or I'll tell them like, "Oh, look, she's like," we point out the modesty. You know what I'm saying? So just looking at a woman is not um lusting or committing adultery in your heart, as Yahushua said, right? If you want to go to Matthew 5 and 28, we can get that. It's when you have a lust is a strong sexual desire, like he said. It's when you look at a woman and then, oh man, I would like to, so on and so forth, right? I would like to this, that, and the other, right? So when it comes to Psalm 101 and 3, it says, I will set no wicked thing before mine eyes. That's what brothers have to do in order to rule their spirits. Proverbs 25 and 28. That's a very, very basic, that's the milk, if you ask me. Right? It's the milk, but guess what? A lot of these very, very, very popular so-called teachers and brothers haven't even mastered that. They haven't, yeah, they haven't even digested that milk. But they claim to teach the meat, reincarnation, and all these other topics that are not going to get you salvation. Right? But ruling your spirit is a salvation issue. Because if you can't rule your spirit, like it said, a man that doesn't rule his own spirit is like a city with no walls. So what's going to happen? All those evil spirits are just going to jump on you. They're going to come right in. So that goes perfectly with Psalm 101 and 3. It says, I will set no wicked thing before mine eyes. We have to get in the habit of not setting wicked things before our eyes, whether that be even if it's single women that are dressed lasciviously, right? Sometimes, like I'm not gonna lie, sometimes females will follow me, and I mean, I don't look at everybody that starts following me, but sometimes say I'm on lunch break, or I'm just on my phone, I'm like, what kind of name is that? It'll say like bad bitch this or something like. I'm like, what? Right. Follow me, and I'll go to their profile. Right. I'll go to their profile and just see like one or two of the pictures, and I'm like, damn, that's disgusting. Like, why would you? And you know what? Before it would be like I wanted to block them right away, but now I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna let them. Maybe they'll get something out of the page.
Maybe they'll turn from that wicked way.
Exactly. But it says, I will set no wicked thing before mine eyes. I hate the work of them that turn aside, because that's what it's gonna do, right? If you can't rule your spirit, that is going to turn you aside. And it says, it shall not cleave to me. A lot of times through social media, even through TV and through all these other means of technology, spirits can jump on you. You see something, and now you're in the spirit of lust. Yep. Right? And now you want to do something else that's even worse. Yep. All right, so go ahead.
This is Matthew chapter 5, verse 28. But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart.
So adultery is cheating on your husband or your wife, right? And when it says whoever looks on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery. So what if I'm not married? And what if she's not married? Is that adultery? No, but it's still lust, right? But it's not adultery though.
In the society that we're in, you can never really be too sure if she married.
That's what I was gonna get at, right? You don't know how many. Let's put it this way: most people are supposed to be married according to the scriptures, whether they see it as that or not. So when Yahushua said, "Whosoever looks on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery in his heart," right? Because you could be at the store or you could be at a club, even though you're not going to catch any of us brothers at a club, right?
How you gonna look for love in the club?
Khan, that's what the brother Yeshaya said. Now he said, how are you gonna looking for a wife in the club? It's crazy.
It don't make sense.
It's crazy.
It don't make sense.
That's crazy. That's like going to a MMA gym and looking for a basketball player.
You ain't gonna find that. You're not gonna find
You know what I mean? But so Yahushua said, whoever looks on a woman to lust after her is committing adultery in his heart. So let's just say, because we were at Walmart earlier, if you're at Walmart and you look at a woman, you're like, oh damn, look at her, blah blah blah, this, that, and the other, and you're lusting after her, and then she's married.
Got you.
You just coveted after another man's wife. You committed. If you're over here picturing things in your head, you just committed adultery in your heart. You're also moving in the lust of the flesh, right? So it's all kinds of wickedness and sin. And in the end, it's not like it's gonna just end right then and there, because, like it said in Psalm 101:3, it'll cleave to you if you allow it to. Right? And this is why some so-called sisters, right? They'll be married and then they go and get with another dude, and then the husband's like finds out and then divorces her, and then she marries another dude, and then she ends up cheating on that dude, right? And it's a cycle, it just keeps going, because that's not a sister, that's a spirit. That's a demon, that's a devil, right? So like it said in Proverbs 6:32, when you commit adultery, you lack understanding, and you're gonna destroy your own soul if you don't sincerely repent of it. And some people, it's like the scriptures say, some people's lights have already been put out, and we don't know. I'm not going to say, oh, this person is done, right? Like, we could never say that. We're not the Most High. But we do know for a fact, like it said, or if you want to get Proverbs 21:16, we do know for a fact that Yahweh said that when you wander out of this truth, the majority of the time you're not coming back.
A high majority of the time you're not going to come back. He's not going to let you come back, because it says that once you've already tasted, once you've known about it, and you choose to go away,
you partake in it,
it's over with. Proverbs 21:16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead.
So it doesn't say he's going to chill in the congregation of the dead and come back later. It says, if you wander out of the way of understanding, and remember Proverbs 6:32, it says, when you commit adultery, you lack understanding, right? So a man that wanders out of the way of understanding, when you understand how the Most High set up marriage as an everlasting covenant, right? As a lifelong covenant, a woman has to be with the same man until he's dead, right? Or until they both die. Then you have the understanding of, okay, well, I should not, like we were talking about, not even sit with a married woman.
Yep.
Right? And that's why anytime I'm going to follow somebody or something like that, and I'm not going to say I'm perfect. Maybe I've slipped up once or twice here or there, but anytime I'm going to follow a sister, I'll ask her, hey, are you single, or are you courting? Are you single, courting, or married? Right? Because I only follow single sisters, right? And some of them will get offended, and I'm like, you don't need to do all that. Never mind. I'm not even gonna follow. I'm not gonna follow you. Never mind. It's cool, right? But the point is, you shouldn't, as a man, you should not be following women that are married. because it's just like it says in Sirach, you should not even sit with a married woman lest your heart start being pulled towards her, right? So that's the same thing with social media. You're gonna see nothing, especially the sisters that post nothing but pictures of themselves, right? They're all about the Most High, but they don't got no scriptures on their page. Maybe it'll be a picture of them and then a scripture, but their whole social media is all about themselves, right? Which brings us to let's go to Leviticus 19 and 17. Leviticus 19 and 17. So it is a law to not suffer sin upon your neighbor, right? And this is another way that adultery is sparked. The beginning stages of adultery, many times, a married woman, right? She's got a bunch of male followers. What do you need male followers for? I challenge y'all. Anyone on here says there's 12, 11 people now. It's going up and down. Give me one good reason why a married woman should have male followers.
Man.
Go ahead.
This is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him.
Read it one more time, man.
Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him.
You are not supposed to. This is in the law, right? For the brothers that, oh, show me that in the law.
Show me that in the Torah.
Some sisters will say that too. We know who they're learning from when they say that, right? When they say, show me in the law, this is a law. You shall not suffer sin upon your neighbor. So you, as a sister, many times are suffering sin upon your neighbor if you're married and you're just posting a picture of yourself. And you may be like, you may even think you're in modest apparel, right? A lot of times it's not modest.
It's not.
Right? We were talking about that too. A lot of times you think you're in modest apparel, but it's not modest. Oh, but I got a dress on. Yeah, well, it's skin tight. I got a skirt on. Yeah, well, it's right above your knees.
You're taking angle pictures.
Right? You're taking pictures from the side, from the top, from every angle you can to not look like yourself, right? Yep. To bear false witness. Yep. But anyways, I digress. You're not supposed to suffer sin upon your neighbor. So as a married woman, to me, it's not enough to just have married in your caption or courting in your caption.
A lot of them don't even have that.
A lot of them don't even have it, right? A lot of them don't. Exactly. And I wonder, and why do you think that is?
If we're being honest, I think the only reason why that happens is because on the inside of that woman, there's something going on that shouldn't be going on. Put it like that.
I follow exactly where you're leading.
Yeah,
some people may not, but if you have eyes to see, ears to hear.
Yeah, I don't want to bear false witness and say something specific on what it is and what it ain't. But I just know for a fact that if everything was actually done decently in order and they were actually living according to the book plus nothing, then it wouldn't be like that. They would, be willing to let it be known and carry themselves as such, but they
don't. I concur. Mm-hmm. I concur. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, you're not supposed to suffer sin upon your neighbor. So you're actually, and you know what? Now that I think about it, there was a sister that told me when I posted about, what was it, like maybe 2 days ago, I had reposted something about you got to live it out or you're going to have blood on your hands, right? And the sister said, no matter how you dress, whether you dress lascivious or modest, there's some men out there that are still going to lust after you. That's so true. That is, and that's what I told her, right? But this is what she said. There's still men that are going to lust after you. So it doesn't really matter.
No, that's wrong.
So
I was following her. She said.
So I said anything that's written in the scriptures, first of all, matters because it's the truth. Right. And if you believe that the Most High gave us the truth through the word, then you have to strive to follow the truth to the best of your ability. But the same as you, I said I agree with you 100%. There's men that are in lustful spirits and adulterous spirits and covetous spirits and even worse spirits than that which we're going to see them come out full force in Jacob's trouble, right? And it's already leading to that. But at the same time, you're held accountable for not being in modest apparel and for walking in lasciviousness, right? So if you want to go to Galatians 5 and 19. Galatians 5 and 19. Because I agree 100%, right? There is men out there, even if you're in a dress and you're covered and you got your head wrapped and it's a loose dress and you're modest, you're covered from your ankles all the way up to your head, and they're still gonna lust after you. That's of course. Of course there's men like that. But at the same time, you're not showing all the whole outline of your body, right? You're not wearing skin tight pants where it's showing every crack and crevice and
I can guarantee you, I'm willing to put whatever on it. I can guarantee you 144%. If you do not wear skin tight clothes, if you wear modest apparel, if you carry yourself in a humble manner as the foremothers in this book, 9 times out of 10, even if a man does look at you, it's gonna be a very, very, very slim, like 0.1% chance that he's gonna lust after you. I'm just gonna be real.
It's gonna be a lot harder too because you can't see.
You can't see nothing.
And put it this way: when you're wearing something that's lascivious, you're leaving nothing up to the imagination.
At all.
Right? A man in the world is led by what he sees.
I guarantee.
Just like a woman, some women are led by what they see, but a lot of times they're led by what they hear. Right? How it makes them feel. If you could play on a woman's emotions, but a man, on the other hand, the majority of them are led by what they see. So if you're dressed modestly, it's going to be a lot higher of a chance for him to lust after you, commit adultery. But again, of course, not saying that's all of them. So go ahead.
This is Galatians, the 5th chapter, verse 19. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of thee which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Yahweh.
So the works of the flesh are manifest: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, envy. All of these can be played out all at the same time when you are lusting after another man's wife or committing adultery with another man's wife, right? Adultery, it's fornication, it's unclean, it's lascivious, you're envying, you're coveting, all of these things, all of these are the works of the flesh, and they can all be, like, think about it. How many works of the flesh can you play out just by adultery, just through adultery?
I made a post on my Instagram the other day, right? And it had the 7 deadly sins on it, just to throw that out there. And I literally said, it only takes for one of them to get activated for the rest of them to have a domino effect. So just like you said,
Calm. Let's go to Isaiah 30 and 1. Isaiah 30 and 1. See, and I've told many sisters this before. This is why I'm actually not following. One of the reasons why I'm not following so many people anymore, because it's not beneficial to follow a lot of people, first of all, right? If they're not posting nothing but scriptures, it's not going to feed you spiritually, then it's really not benefiting you anything. But anyways, when I was following a lot of sisters, what I would have to find myself doing was, anytime I see them posting something lascivious, I felt in my spirit like, man, I got to get the blood off my hands. I got to send them some scriptures and say, look, the Most High, this, and this.
Yeah, that's what I don't need.
And the majority of the time, what would they say? Nah, I don't want to hear that.
Why would you say such a thing? You don't even know me.
You're not my dad. You're not my husband. You're whatever, right?
Yep.
So that's why I'm probably following less than maybe 100 or less than 100, and maybe 10 or less than 10 is females. But go ahead.
This is Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me.
So you're rebellious if you're taking counsel, but not of the Most High. Go ahead.
And that cover with the covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin.
So think about that, right? You can think of it obviously spiritually, that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, right? So that could be like Christians, oh, we're covered with grace. We don't have to keep the laws, right? But it can also be, when you really think about it, like sisters, so-called sisters. Oh, and I'm still covering myself.
That's right.
They got a dress or a skirt, but it's skin tight. You can see the whole figure, the whole outline of everything.
You might as well be wearing lingerie.
And it says, but not of my spirit. Why? That they may add sin to sin. And that's just what we talked about in Galatians, the 5th chapter. You got uncleanness, you got lasciviousness, you got people committing adultery in their minds with you, fornicating in their minds with you, right? Just adding sin to sin to sin. But most sisters don't care. They would rather get attention, and that's what? Idolatry, right? They would rather have attention than listen to the Most High, to the Most High's words.
Yeah.
Which, remember, Yahushua said, an adulterous generation, what's the only sign that we're going to get?
The sign of Jonah.
The sign of Jonas, right? Which, what was Jonas doing in Nineveh? He was warning them, right? So go ahead and go to Jeremiah 8 and 6. 8 and 5. We'll go at 5 and 6. Because this sums up the majority of Israelites that learn of the truth or that are warned with the truth.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 8, verse 5. So I went and hid it by Euphrates.
So like it's Jeremiah 8 and 5.
Oh, Salaki.
Shalom. Let me see, what is that? William Jeffrey, shalom, Mark, shalom.
Here we go. Jeremiah 8 and 5. Why then is this people of Jerusalem slidden back by a perpetual backsliding?
Perpetual, meaning they just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. Go ahead.
They hold fast deceit. They refuse to return.
They're holding quick to deceit. They're quick to turn back to anything against the Most High. Right? That's why so many people, they learn about the truth, right? And then it's like it says in Peter, like it says in Proverbs, they're like a dog that returns to his vomit. Mm-hmm. They just go back with a perpetual backsliding. They're fast to go back to deceit. They refuse to return to the Most High when they hear his word and correction. Go ahead.
I hearkened and heard, but they spake not aright. No man repented him of his wickedness, saying, what have I done?
And this is what people say, well, what have I done?
Show me in the law.
Right? Show me in the law. Show me where I can show you 10 precepts, huh? Right? Without even, we can go to the law, but I can show you 10, 15, 20 precepts. Or like how we were talking earlier, right? What have I done? Oh, I think it looks modest. Mm-hmm. How is that? You see, some people just don't have eyes to see. Right? You can't argue spiritual things with carnal people. But go ahead.
Everyone turned to his course as the horse rusheth into the battle.
Everyone just turns back to their old ways, their old course, as the horse rusheth into battle. So just because you learn the truth, right, that doesn't mean you're staying in the truth. Just because the Most High opens your eyes for a time, doesn't mean that your eyes are going to be open the whole time. Because many are called, but few are chosen, and only the chosen are going to continue down that straight gate, down that narrow path, right?
The race is given not to the swift nor the strong, it's for endurance.
And most people don't have endurance,
right?
That's like how I told you. Anybody who would show up to their first jiu-jitsu class, and the first thing they want to do, yeah, let's spar. Mm-hmm. And then the first 30 seconds, minute, they're going super hard, right? And then that's it. They're gonna give up.
Burnt out.
They're gonna give you a choke. They're just gonna give up. And that's the same thing in this walk. As soon as afflictions or tough decisions come, oh man, I got to give up my old ways. But I've been living like this my whole life.
They don't want to give it up. That's the sad part about it. Like they literally, I've talked to so many people. This is from personal experience. I had talked to so many people about like, and the thing is, I try to avoid these conversations because I understand how serious it is. Like once I tell you this, you know what I'm saying, it's on you at this point.
It's dangerous. It's a dangerous thing to tell them.
For me to even say something to you about it, like whether you believe it or not, for me to even give you this information, everybody that walks the face of this earth receives the truth at least one time in their life. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, it's up to the Most High if He's gonna, be merciful enough to, give it to you a couple times till you snap out of it. But I see it so many times how people don't want to give up their old lifestyle. It's like they trust Egypt so much, the spiritual land of captivity that we're in right now. They trust everything in here so much. They've been pacified so much that they just don't want to give it up, not even understanding that it's not going to do anything for you. It's about to perish. Like everything's about to perish.
They haven't had enough of it. That's the problem.
Can't get enough of
it. Go to 1 Peter 4:3. And this ties in perfectly with what we're talking about. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 3. Because that's true. Most people, they haven't had enough of that old man, that past life, right?
Yeah, one more time, Spirit. This is 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 3. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles.
So the time past of our life should suffice us. Suffice, that's the root word of sufficient. The time that you had in your old worldly life, working out the lusts of the flesh and living like a Gentile, like someone who's either a heathen by blood or a heathen spiritually because they didn't even know they were an Israelite and they weren't following the ways of the Most High. That should be sufficient for you to have done the will of the Gentiles. And now, once you learn the truth, you have to start walking out the will of the Most High. Go ahead.
When we walked in lasciviousness.
Again, when we walked in lasciviousness, what does lasciviousness lead to? Fornication, uncleanness, adultery.
Lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatry.
Right, so all of these could tie in with it. When we walked in lasciviousness, which leads to lusts.
First thing on the list.
Which leads to excess of wine, because wine is just drunkenness, right? You could be drunk off of doctrine, off of anything, but you could be drunk off of lust as well.
So okay, drunk. Beyonce made a song called "Drunk in Love."
There you go. and what it should be called is drunken lust.
Exactly.
Right. So it says excess of wine, revelings, which we talked about. Reveling, that's partying, that's going to the club. Which guess what? There's nothing but lasciviousness and lust and excess of wine in the clubs, in the revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries. And I could say 100% that many men, or the majority of men, have fallen into idolizing women in the past. Because idolizing is just putting something over the Most High. Yeah. So I could say I've done that more than a few times.
Anything we could possibly sit here and say on this live, we probably done fell in it ourselves. I mean, we're gonna be real.
Let's go to Ephesians 4. Ephesians 4. So, like we said in Psalm 101 and 3, you have to get in the spirit of not setting any wicked thing before your eyes. Right? Not even looking at a woman that is married is the best thing to do. It's like I believe I said it on a few lives a while back when I first came into the truth. It even actually was before a long time ago, before I was in the truth, right? I had this thing where I would pick out, and it's gonna sound horrible, right? But I would pick out on a woman the ugliest thing she had, right? So if she had some weird, I remember there was this one chick that she was dating one of my friends. Then they broke up, and I was still like, she was trying to get at me, right? And I was like, man, I can't do that. Like, we've been cool for the longest time, whatever, right? She had some little like elf ears, like pointing and shit, right? so when I would see her or I would talk to her or whatever, I would just concentrate on that, and I'm like, kind of, in a sense, gross myself out from the ugliest thing,
Trying to
right?
see if you can deal with
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that you don't look at other things right now. Of course, later on, and then coming into the truth and stuff. At the beginning of the truth, I'm not gonna lie, I had to do the same thing. So I would be like, oh, I'm just gonna stare at that mole on her face. Damn, that shit's ugly. Like it's got a little hair coming out and
it. Yeah.
everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to get myself in that spirit of okay, and now I'm to the point where okay, if I'm talking to a woman, I'm just gonna stare, not creepy, but I'm gonna look into her eyes when I'm talking to her, look away every few seconds just so it's not weird. But I'm gonna keep eye contact so that you're not looking where you're not supposed to be looking.
Man, a lot of times I don't even make eye contact no more.
If it's a married woman, yeah, you don't even try to do that.
You
You know what I mean?
I look off and talk to you like this.
Exactly. But if you know, you just well, the point I'm making is you got to do whatever you can do to not set any wicked thing before your eyes because it can turn you aside and that spirit of lust can cleave to you, right? But go ahead.
This is chapter 4 of Ephesians.
And you can start on verse, let me see. Salaki, I thought I had it written down. I think it's like 19.
Come. This is Ephesians chapter 4, verse 19. Who being past feeling have given themselves over unto lasciviousness to work all uncleanness with greediness.
So this is talking about people that have already known of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, right? They turn back to their past, right? They get those same past feelings and they give themselves over to what? To lasciviousness, which leads again, it leads to adultery. Because there's no man that's just going to be like, oh, hey, you're married. Yeah. Okay. You want to sleep with me? That's not how it goes.
You got to be a pure like demon for that.
There's a bunch of betrayals that have to happen before that. You first gotta, oh, she's married. Okay, let me try and I'm gonna slide in her DM, like they say, right? And then I'm gonna contact her, and then I gotta get her number, and then I gotta find out where she lives, or I gotta tell her where I live. There's so many different, uh, uh, there's so many things that you gotta do that are wrong to lead to that point of adultery. It's not like I just, oh, sorry. I mean, it just happened. There's so many wicked things that have to happen before that.
Exactly.
Right? And that all comes from the heart. That all comes from the mind, like Yahushua said. Well, we'll get that right now. Do you want to read that one more time?
Who being past feeling have given themselves over unto lasciviousness to work all uncleanness with greediness.
So they work uncleanness through that lasciviousness with greediness. And a lot of sisters, but also brothers as well, but we're on the topic of sisters, they are greedy to get attention. They for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason, their husband is just not doing it for them. Let's be real. Yep. Their husband's not doing it for them. Maybe he's not giving them enough attention. So that's why they're over here. Oh, new haircut, showing a bunch of cleavage. Yep. Oh, that's why they're like, oh, new outfit, taking a picture from the back. Yep. Oh, I got my new weave, and you can see everything. I'm not even gonna say it, right?
Right.
They'll and they think they're slick.
But those with spiritual eyes can see through
exactly. When you got spiritual eyes to see it, it's not slick at all.
I got X-ray vision.
It's not slick at all. Right? So it said that there's people that give themselves over to that past feeling, and they give themselves over to that lasciviousness. And what that's really saying is just like Psalm 101:3, you give yourself over to that spirit of lasciviousness, that spirit of uncleanness, that spirit of adultery, and of greediness too, because a man that wants to take another man's wife and lay with her, that is greedy.
Very.
Go ahead.
But ye have not so learned Hamashiach.
That's verse 20. But ye have not so learned Christ, is how it's written. And what is Hamashiach? It says he's the word. Right? So you have not learned the word. If you're giving yourself back over to lasciviousness, uncleanness, greediness, adultery, fornication, all of these things, you have not learned the word. Go ahead.
Verse 21. If so be that ye have heard him and have been taught by him as the truth is in Yahweh Shai.
So if you have heard him, right, and this goes for a lot of these so-called teachers out here as well, right? Is it, let's show me in the law? We're talking about Yahweh Shai. So you're gonna deny what they're saying about Yahweh Shai? It says, if so be that ye have heard him, if you've heard the word and have been taught by him, because he is the truth. Go ahead.
That ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust.
Go ahead.
And be renewed in the spirit of your mind.
So if you've heard the word and you were actually taught by the word, which Yahushua, Yahweh Bashem, Yahushua, what are you going to do? You're going to put off the old man. Because the old man is corrupt according to the deceitful lust. And you're going to be renewed in the spirit of your mind. You're not going to be in the clubs no more. Right? You're not going to be around a whole bunch of lascivious women. You're going to follow Psalm 101 and 3, and you're not going to set no wicked things before your eyes purposefully, because guess what? There's already enough things that are going to be put in front of you accidentally, right? That are going to try to lead you astray. So why would you do it purposefully? That makes absolutely no sense.
You're setting yourself up.
Yeah, exactly. You're setting yourself up for failure, right? So when you really are renewed in the spirit of your mind, you're not even going to be want to be around these types of things, right? Because back then you would be put to death. Let's go to Deuteronomy 22 and 22, which we read this in the last live as well, but just to bring it out on here. Lonnie Love, sorry, I meant to ask this earlier. Is a man committing adultery if he is cheating on his wife with a woman who is not married? So now, if a man, okay, so let me ask you this, and then I'll answer your question, right? Are you talking about a man in the truth? It's basically the same answer, but I just want, for context sake, are you talking about a man that's claims to be in the truth of the Most High? Go ahead, Ak, and then I'll answer the question.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 22. If a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, then they shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel.
So that's exactly how they would handle that situation back then. If a man was lying with a woman that was married, guess what? Both of them are going to die.
On spot.
Both of them are going to, that's how you would put away evil from Israel. So think about it like this. Do you think, I'm not even going to ask it in a question, right? The Most High is not going to allow evil into the kingdom, right? So if you're living in adultery, when all hell breaks loose and Yahushua comes back, you are not going to make it into the kingdom. You are going to be put to death, and that evil is going to be put away from Israel. And that's it. That's it. It's not going to be no, it's okay, you'll be reincarnated in the kingdom, like a lot of people teach. That's not how it's going to be. If you don't have the Son, you can't get to the Father.
Totally.
Right? So the sister said yes. Okay, come. So go to Exodus 22 and 16. Exodus 22 and 16. So we kind of briefly went over this on the last live as well.
This is Exodus chapter 22, verse 16. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife.
So if a man is married, right, and he goes out and sleeps with another woman, that's what he's supposed to do if he's claiming to be in the truth. It says if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed, she's not already promised to another man, right? Because that's another thing that most people in Israel don't understand. When you're in a so-called courting process, right? To my knowledge, there's no such thing as courting in the Bible. I haven't seen a verse that says, and thou shalt court her. Right. That's supposed to be a betrothal process. That's a process of, okay, you're promised to me, we are going to get married as long as nothing else comes up. Right.
So just for clarification to the people, so basically what you're saying is if somebody so-called is even entering that so-called courting phase, you're basically in the betrothal stage already.
If you have that, most people don't have that understanding, right? But that's how it's actually supposed to be.
Okay.
There's no to again, if you know a verse and you can prove me wrong, I'm open to correction. But as far as I know, there is no verse in the Bible that says you go through a courting process.
Okay.
Right? We just use that because we have more than the Torah now, and there's many scriptures in Sirach and in the so-called New Testament that say to prove them and prove all things and be not hasty to credit and all of these other things, right? So of course we do that, but a betrothal process is basically the equivalent of modern day engagement, right? You're already promised to somebody. So going back to the sister's question, are you still, yeah, if you want to read it one more time,
Con. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife.
So if that man doesn't, if he lies with another woman that is not married or not promised to somebody, this is a law that he has to keep. If he lies with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. So if he's in the truth, if he's claiming to be in the truth, that's what he can't just go and start sleeping with women like some camps teach that you can do, like some congregations teach that you can do.
That's probably why they don't want to get baptized. Ooh, I might
Could
struck
be,
a nerve right
could
there.
be, could be. Go ahead and go to chapter 21 to 10. So if he doesn't, just to for your question's sake, right? If he doesn't, it's definitely fornication. But I don't see a scripture that specifically says if a man lies with another woman, it's adultery, right? But it could be considered, it definitely could be seen as that. But without a doubt, he is sinning. Let's put it that way. He's not only sinning, but he's also not going according to the precepts. Because actually, my rib has asked this question to me before as well. She said something along the lines of, okay, so if a man finds another woman that claims to be in the truth, and he lays with her, and he before he does though, he says, okay, well, sex is marriage, so you're gonna have to be my wife, etc. They lay down together, and then she says, okay, no, well, I don't see it that way, or she says, no, I'm not your wife, right? So then what happens? That's what she was basically asking, right? So that's definitely out of order. Number one, 1 Corinthians 14 and 40 says, let all things be done decently in order, right? That's also why you have to prove a friend and be not hasty to credit them, like it says in Sirach 6. And there's many other precepts. But in the end, the man is falling into sin by not endowing her to be his wife, right?
This is Exodus chapter 21, verse 10. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish.
So to be perfectly real with y'all, the majority of men can't do that. The majority of men can't. Okay, well, the majority of men probably do want another wife, right? More than one wife, but he can't feed them both and clothe them both and give them the duty of marriage, which is conjugal rights, having sex. He can't do that in the correct order, right? Which is why I made a long time ago a couple of videos on how polygamy is lawful, but it's not expedient or profitable for many, many people, right? For the majority of people, actually, in this day and age, it's not profitable for them, right? But let's go to Luke 16 and 18. Khan, all praise to the Most High. Thank you so much for the clarification, Khan, no sweat. Life with Darla. How does an unmarried woman become a concubine? Actually, man, I was talking to a brother about that. That's for a whole nother lesson, to be honest with you. There's a lot of verses we could pull on that. Maybe we could do a lesson on that next week. I already have probably about a handful of lessons planned before that one. But if you want to DM me, and I can send you at least a couple scriptures on that topic, sis.
This is Luke chapter 16, verse 18. Whosoever putteth away his wife and marrieth another committeth adultery, and whosoever marrieth her that is put away from her husband committeth adultery.
So if you put away your wife, right? Just going along with the sister. What is it? Lonnie Love 1230. Okay, it says, "Whosoever putteth away his wife and marrieth another committeth adultery." Right. So a man, and I've heard of this happening as well. Right. This it's pretty horrible. It's a horrible thing to hear of, because I've heard at least two sisters that I could think of that this has happened to in the past few years. But a man will literally just put away his wife, as in, and if you look at that word "put away," it's not the same word for divorce, right? It's just like, I don't want to be with you no more. I'm gonna get with this female just so I could get with this female, right? So actually, if you want to go to Matthew 5, or you know what? No, it's cool, it's cool. 'Cause we're gonna keep getting off topic. What time is it? It's already 10:36. Yeah, I gotta wake up at like probably 5:45 tomorrow. I gotta work far away. But the what I was gonna say is there's a lot of men that put away their wife just because they want to be with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And what it's saying here is, "Whosoever putteth away his wife and marrieth another committeth adultery." You're committing adultery in that case, because according to the law, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to provide all of these things for your wife. So by not doing so, you are now in sin. And by putting her away just so you can start sleeping with another woman, you're not only committing adultery, that's one sin, but you're also suffering sin upon your wife if she marries somebody else. And that's an iniquity.
Mm-hmm.
Because an iniquity is a sin that you keep committing, and it keeps going on, right? If if my wife, if I put her away, I don't want to deal with you no more, get out my house. And then she's like, man, well, I don't want to be alone. And she gets with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Now she is living in a sin for the rest of her life as long as she's with that man. Because she's still not technically, she still is married to me according to the word. And me, by putting her away like that for a reason that is not of fornication, like Yahushua said, that's the only reason for divorce. I am causing her to do that. I'm suffering sin upon her every day of her life. Therefore, I'm sinning or living in sin every day of my life, right? Which is why it's a very, very dangerous thing, right? Let's go to Ephesians 5 and 5.
Con.
Ephesians 5 and 5. And so think about it like this. That's talking physically, right? But let's say you got a social media account, you're a woman, and you got 1,000 followers, 5, 10, 20, 30,000 followers. And every day or every couple days, or let's just say every week at least, on a weekly basis, you post up lascivious pictures. It doesn't even have to be a post. It could be on your story.
Yep.
You got lascivious pictures on your story, or lascivious videos on your story. You know how chicks be doing those little faces and oh man. And you can see, man,
enticing.
A whore is known by her haughty looks and by her eyelids, right?
If she looks like a hoe, she is.
And then we'll talk more about that tomorrow on Shabbat.
Okay.
Tomorrow we're gonna do the live on Jezebel, right? Maybe we'll get a little bit into Ahab too. But if you're doing that, right, just as an example, you do that every other day, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, you are living in a perpetual sin as well, because you are causing or suffering sin upon men every other day or every week that you do that. Yeah. And guess what? Men, or not even men, just humans in general, are creatures of habit. So you don't think that man is going back and looking at your pictures all the time?
Come on, man.
And going back and damn, I like the way she was curving right there. And
guaranteed.
And then Psalm 101 and 3, that spirit is cleaving to them, right? That spirit is cleaving to them, and that's why it says it shall not cleave to me, because I'm not going to set no wicked thing before my eyes. But most men are not in rule of their spirit, in control of their spirit enough to just turn away from that. I like the brother Jomar, that song. Turn away from your wicked way, right? Most people, how many brothers can do that? How many men can do that? I won't say brothers.
Yeah, I'm saying real men. If
How
you
many?
if you a real man, I say you got a 60 to 70% chance of doing successfully. If you a little boy, you got like a 10% chance.
Probably less.
Yeah, probably, I give about 5 max. 5.
And now look at it this way. How many females are on social media?
Too many.
So if you got let's say you have a 10% chance of not looking at these females, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one, and another one. And that's why I've said many times, and I've given this advice to so many married sisters, because I do counseling, like marriage counseling with the man and the woman. And a lot of times this is the worst thing you could tell a woman, and this is the thing they don't want to hear the most. Well, I mean, the most beneficial thing would be to get rid of your social media. Either that or
Oh
you.
no, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that.
No, well, I can keep it. I can control myself, or I can. And they start going into deflection mode or defensive mode, right? But in reality, if you really care, like let's put it this way: if your man is doing what he needs to do, he's giving you the right amount of attention and love and conjugal rights and everything like that. You're not gonna want or need attention from another man. You're not gonna want or need to be lascivious and getting likes and comments and hearts from all these other dudes. You're not gonna want or need that adulterous spirit. You're not going to even want to have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Chat Snap.
All that.
You're not going to. What do you need that for? If you're happy in your real life, because social media is really an outlet for most people that are not 100% satisfied with their lives, right? So
Well said.
what were you holding out? Ephesians 5.
Yes.
Okay, Ephesians 5:5.
This is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 5. For this ye know that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man who is an idolater hath any inheritance into the kingdom of Hamashiach and of Yahweh.
So anybody in the truth, what do they want to get?
Everybody wants to go to the kingdom.
Everybody wants inheritance in the kingdom of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. But this says, for this ye know, and it seems like many people don't know this. For this ye know that no whoremonger, which I don't care what anybody says, if you're up in the club and you're over here leaning on and hugging on and kissing on and giving attention to a bunch of whores, what does that sound like? Nor unclean person, nor covetous man, and that's what you're making out of many men. A lot of women are making covetous men just by how you're posting yourself on social media, even if you're not married, right? Because the most high weighs the spirits. He knows the spirit that you're in. He knows the intention, let's put it that way. He knows the intention you have when you're posting certain things.
Oh yeah, he knows everything, dude. Like if you ever find yourself trying to talk to yourself in your mind and be like, well, maybe he ain't gonna see this, you need to rebuke yourself.
That's an evil spirit. That's an
That
evil
is the
spirit.
evilest shit. It's a lot here for my language, but that is the evilest shit ever.
So it says, nor a covetous man, and remember, suffering sin upon somebody, that's a sin towards you. Leviticus 19:17, you shall not suffer sin upon your neighbor. So by you making someone covetous, because you already have in your head, oh, I look good like this, and I'm gonna take this pic. You know what? I don't even look like that picture, but I'm gonna post it because it's gonna give me a lot of likes and attention and this, that, and the other. You're making a covetous man.
Manipulation.
At its finest. Then it says, who is an idolater? And you're also making idolaters out of many people because men idolize women. Just look at what's his name? Will Smith and Jada Pinkett.
Oh my god.
Does he not idolize her?
Yes. He's the Ahab.
He's the perfect famous famous representative of Ahab.
And she's the perfect representative of Jezebel.
Khan, bald headed, bald headed.
I will smite you by the scab of your head.
And that's a curse, right?
Yep.
It says, so nobody who is covetous or who is an idolater hath any inheritance in the kingdom. Let's go to Romans 7:3. Romans 7:3. So adultery, when you really think about it, man, it's so basic. It's such a basic thing. It's the milk, but it still obviously has to be something that's talked about, because just me personally, and I'm sure there's many brothers and sisters out there that have heard of it as well. Just me personally, I have heard of at least a handful of situations where adultery has been committed by people claiming to be in the truth in the past few weeks. And I'm sure, and that's nothing compared to what's actually going on. Right? Go ahead.
That's just in the truth.
Come.
This is Romans chapter 7, verse 3. So then, if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress.
Pause. So we didn't even bring this one out on the last live, right? Not this account in Romans. It says, so then if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she has sex with another man and gets married to him, she shall be called an adulteress. And that's what a lot of women had a problem with on the last live, and even before the last live, reaching out. Well, what about this and what about that? The scriptures say what the scriptures say, right?
Yeah.
You can't get mad with me. You got to take it up with the Most High. Yeah. The scriptures say if your husband's alive and you get married to another man, you're called an adulteress. That's what the Most High calls you. Go ahead.
But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man.
Well, my husband's spiritually dead. That's not what it's talking about. And I've heard this.
Try and do anything to get around their own way.
Well, Yahushua said that the cause of fornication is grounds for divorce. He didn't say that means you can divorce him. The scriptures say over and over and over and over, as long as your husband's alive, you're bound to him. Right? As long as your husband is he breathing? Yes, okay, you're married. You're still married.
Point blank.
Did he give you a divorce? Yes, he did. Okay, was it for the cause of fornication? Well, no, it's because, okay, you're still married to him. Read it one more time.
So then, if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man.
So if he's dead, she is free from that law. Sin is the transgression of the law. 1 John 3 and 4. So if you claim to be in the truth, obviously you got to strive to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Then you have to stay with your husband as long as he lives. Right? And some sisters like, well, that's not fair, and that's not this, and that's not that. My husband is wicked, and my husband is this, and blah, blah, blah. You married him. At some point in time, you loved him enough to spread your legs open to him. And still do. Yep. But he's wicked. So what does that say about you?
A wicked woman is given to a wicked man.
To Rock 26, a wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man. Right? At some point in time, you are in love with that wickedness. That wickedness is all you wanted. But now that things aren't going your way, you want to go out and commit adultery, which is a crime punishable by what? By death.
And don't think you're gonna escape death just because the Most High not putting anybody instantly to death like he used to back in the days of old. Don't mean that when the day comes, they're gonna get put to death.
Come. Yeah. Come. And that's the thing. You say don't think, and you can't think and think and think. This is where it all starts. You want to go to Mark chapter 7. 7 and start on 20.
This is Mark chapter 7, verse 20. And he said, that which cometh out of the man, that defileth the man.
So there are some people that obviously we can't eat pork, we can't eat shrimp, we can't eat the things that are unclean according to the word, right? But that doesn't defile a man. That makes a man unclean, but you're only unclean until even,
Mhm.
right? You're only unclean until the new day starts, and that's like in Lamentations where it says the Most High's mercies are new every day.
Yeah, it's because of his mercies we are not consumed.
Exactly. So when the new day starts, this day is over, the sun goes down, you're unclean until even when you eat something unclean. That's not what defiles you. What let's see what does defile you. Go ahead.
For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders.
So from within, out of the heart of man. Now that your heart is not your heart that pumps blood. Your heart is
Your mind.
your mind. That's why it says proceed evil thoughts. That's why it says in Proverbs that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. This is talking about your mind. So anything from within your heart is what defiles you. It says from your heart come evil thoughts, adulteries, because there's no man on the earth that goes and sees a woman that's married and just has sex with her. He doesn't even think about it.
Nope.
It starts in your mind, and that's what begins to defile you. Go ahead. If you want to read that one more time, 21.
Kind. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders,
Go ahead.
thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man.
This is what truly defiles you. It's not eating shrimp or eating pork, which of course I'm not saying you can do.
Right.
I'm saying that does make you unclean before a period of time. But from within the heart of men is what actually defiles you. When you have these thoughts of adultery, right? You like think about it this way: you don't even got to sleep with a woman to commit adultery with her.
That's deep.
You're following a married woman, and every day you're over here. Oh man, I wish she was my wife. Coveting. I would do this, that, and the other. Adultery, fornication, covetousness, wickedness,
Yep.
lasciviousness. All of these things are tied into that. You're having an evil eye towards your brother because you're looking at her.
Yep.
It's also deceit. You're talking to that. Oh yeah, shalom, Mark. Yeah, peace and blessings, Doc. And you're over here working deceit. You're over here looking at his wife.
Yep.
Right? That's also prideful. That's foolish. All these things come from within and defile a man. So all these things start in the heart. All these things start in the mind, and that's why it's so important that it's like the scriptures say we're supposed to try to be blameless before Yahushua comes back. In order to be blameless, you're gonna have to get yourself in order when it comes to social media, because like the sister said at the beginning, who was it? Janelle Marie says social media. That's in my opinion, that's the number one reason or the number one way that adulteries begin. They start in the mind,
Yep.
right?
Social media was made to trigger the seven deadly sins, man. It's literally what it was created for, was to trigger all of the sins that can get you killed.
And then the Most High flipped it on them and used a small percentage of us to use it to spread His truth.
Exactly. Just another way of showing the Most High is not a God of numbers.
That's like Solomon said to the good things even are used for good to good, but are used for evil to evil, right? Anything can be used.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to Proverbs 6, Proverbs 6 and 23.
This is Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light.
So remember, we started in Exodus chapter 20. And what did it say? Thou shalt not commit adultery. Exodus 20 and 14. Right? That is a law, and that law is light, and it is a lamp. It should be a lamp to guide your feet. Right? It's like you're walking. I don't know most people probably live in the city. If you go walk out in my backyard, you can be able to see anything. You go walk in the field, unless there's a full moon or the moon's bright.
You ain't gonna see nothing.
You're just gonna feel all the mosquitoes biting. You hear some snakes and some coyotes.
That's all you gonna hear, and a few little bit, grass, whistling past each other.
Right. So the law should be guiding your steps. Go ahead.
And reproofs of instruction are the way of life.
Reproofs of instruction are the way of life. And that's this whole Bible. It's not just the law. Go ahead.
To keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman.
So a lot of women like attention, but they're just, oh, well, I was just talking to him. Well, you're married. You shouldn't be talking to him. Exactly. Right? They're trying to flatter you with the tongue. So the law and the commandments and the reproofs of instruction, this is what's going to keep you from those evil women, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. Go ahead.
Lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids.
Right, and you got them little, I'm going to say it. This brother posted it yesterday, I think. Hopefully it's still up. I was going to repost it on my story, but you heard of a cumbrella?
I ain't never heard of it, but okay. It sounds pretty wicked.
Okay, let's just, I'll post it on my story probably tomorrow, but let's just say
that sounds pretty wicked.
Those fake eyelashes have a heathenistic, unclean
I think I've
origin.
Seen that before, yeah.
Okay, so it says, lust not after her beauty in thine heart, lust not after her beauty in thine heart. Now, there's nothing wrong with, oh man, that's a beautiful woman. Look, she dressed modestly. If she's not married, of course. Mm-hmm. But she looks more beautiful in that modest apparel than these other women that are half naked. That's perfectly fine. But this is saying don't lust after her beauty in your heart. Because what's in your heart defiles you, right? Neither let her take thee with her eyelids. You have these sisters trying to flap off with their little wings on their eyelashes, right?
Doing it right there, fluttering their eyes.
The brother Jomar sent me a thing a while back, and it was a meme, and it said somebody lost their tires, or somebody lost their eyelashes, and it was a ripped up tire. Yep. Go ahead.
It just be used too.
Mm-hmm.
For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread, and the adulteress will hunt for the precious life.
For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. So in Isaiah 13:12, it says a man will be more valuable than what?
Precious gold of Ophir.
Will be more valuable than gold. Than fine gold, that's what it says. Than fine gold. Okay? But a whorish woman and an adulteress is going to make a man be brought to a piece of bread.
Gold and bread don't have no equivalence neither.
Right? And a whore's price was a piece of bread, was a loaf of bread. Mm-hmm. So it says the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. And guess what? We're going to finish in this chapter. Guess what? They are hunting for the precious life. What's precious to the Most High is somebody who's actually seeking them in sincerity. Mm-hmm. So there's people out there that you may think, man, they never get punished and they do all these other things. Sometimes the execution of punishment isn't speedily.
Oh yeah.
Right? Some people, they're already given up to that reprobate mind, like it says in Romans, the 1st chapter. And the Most High is just going to let them, all right, let them go. Let them rock with whatever they want to do. They're going to do whatever they're going to be. Okay, they're still doing it. Oh, they think they got away with it. Okay, just wait.
Don't worry
just wait.
Don't worry about it.
When Jacob's trouble happens,
got you.
Watch what's going to happen.
I got you.
Right? So this says the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. There's nothing precious about somebody living wickedly in the world. Mm-hmm. In the eyes of the Most High, there's nothing precious about that. And it's like I was saying the other day, and I told you too, and I told many brothers and sisters, when Satan sees that you're trying to follow the Most High, Sirach 2, right?
Yeah,
everybody quotes that.
Sirach 2:1. My son, if thou come to serve the Most High, prepare thy soul for temptation.
If you come to serve the Most High, you're going to be tempted, right? The adulteress will hunt for the precious life. Proverbs 6:26. She will hunt for the precious life. When you hunt something, you got to be subtle,
You on the search too.
right? You got to be sneaky. You got to use means of
Deception.
deception, guile, right?
Yep. Yep.
Which, like I said, Yahushua never used guile, and we're supposed to be following in his example. Go ahead.
Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burnt?
Can you light a lighter inside your shirt, right inside your shirt, over your stomach, and it not burn you, and your clothes not get set on fire?
Negative.
Go ahead.
Can one go upon hot coals and his feet not be burnt?
Go ahead.
So he that goeth into his neighbor's wife, whosoever toucheth her shall not be innocent.
Just like you can't take a fire and put it on your stomach and your clothes not be burnt, just like you can't stand on hot coals and your feet not get burnt. If somebody goes into his neighbor's wife, you know what that means.
Yep.
Whoever touches her shall not be innocent. So now this is what happens, and this is what I've heard happen. And this happened all the time when I wasn't in the truth, but I've even heard of it happening in the truth. Go ahead.
Men do not despise a thief, if he steal to satisfy his soul when he is hungry.
Can you be mad at somebody for stealing a piece of bread when they haven't eaten in days?
I mean, you might be a little bit vexed, but you can't really be mad at him because, I mean, you
They're
ain't
just trying to
able
live.
You just trying to survive, bro.
Go ahead.
But if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold. He shall give all the substance of his house.
And in the law, it says when you steal something, you got to pay back what you stole and then some. Go ahead.
Yep. But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. A wound and dishonor shall he that Salakia. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall not be wiped away.
A wound and dishonor shall he get. 9 times out of 10, especially out in the world, not in this truth, you're gonna get wounded.
And you know what that wound is.
A man is gonna beat you, especially if he catches you in the act. Oh man, you might end up dying.
Nah, for real. And it's gonna be righteous in the eyes of the Most High.
And that's like it says in Psalms and it says in Sirach. That's that evil messenger, right? A man that seeks rebellion, an evil messenger will be sent to him. And sometimes that evil messenger, oh, well, you committed adultery with my wife. All right, I'm gonna take your life. And like it says in what is it, 1 Samuel 2:6, the Most High kills and the Most High makes alive. So if you die because you were being an adulterer, you were making a woman an adulteress, well, that's what the Most High wanted to happen to you.
It's gonna happen the way it's gonna happen.
Right? So a wound and dishonor shall he get. Because man, there's nothing more dishonorable in my eyes. There's nothing more dishonorable than a man that goes into another man's wife. Because think about it like this:
that's the worst it gets.
Even if it wasn't your wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know that a man committed adultery with another man's wife, you are never gonna trust that man again.
Oh, never.
It doesn't matter if it was your wife or another man's wife. You're never gonna trust. You're never ever gonna trust that man.
Because if you do it to that man's wife, what would make you think he ain't gonna do it to yours if he can stand?
Exactly. Go ahead.
For jealousy is the rage of a man, therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content, though thou givest many gifts.
So you're gonna receive a wound. You're gonna receive dishonor, of course. And guess what? The worst wound's gonna come from the Most High.
Oh
man. The worst wound is gonna come from the Most High. You could get beat within an inch of your life, but guess what? The Most High has still got something worse for you.
And I can tell y'all from personal experience what the Most High showed me in a dream, right? Before I got baptized. He actually, and this, just to show y'all, for those who really believe in the Most High and the way that he shows people things and the things that he can do. The Most High actually showed me, or allowed one of his angels to come to me in a dream and show me what the spirit of a whoremonger looks like. Somebody who was an adulterer. The spirit of what that kind of person looks like in the spirit. And if y'all ever seen like what a zombie look like, or like The Walking Dead or anything like that, it's like worse than that. It's really, really disgusting. So if your spirit look like that, you are already dead on the inside. So how much more dead can the Most High make you?
Of an adulterer, right?
Of an adulterer, a whoremonger.
And that's a spirit that the majority of men have had on them in the past,
Yeah.
right? The majority of men have had that spirit on them,
Yep.
right? So when it comes to adultery, guess we're gonna end it there. Oh, there was a brother or sister that said you have a question at the end. Let me see. Oh yeah, Invictus 47. Can you do a Q&A at the end of the lesson if you have time? If you got a question, Ak, and you want to answer it right now, you can go ahead and ask it. If not, we're gonna close out. We're gonna go ahead and close it out. If you want to go to let's see, let's go to 1 Corinthians 6. Oh, Salakia. Hebrews 13 and 4. Let's go there first. Give you like a minute or two out if you're still on here.
This is Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers Yahweh will judge.
So marriage is honorable, and the bed undefiled is honorable, right? A marriage bed is supposed to be just that. You shouldn't be laying in any bed with anybody unless you're going to be married to them in that bed at that time, right? Because that's another thing. Oh, well, we're not married, but we just what's that word they say? What is it?
We just entangled.
We cohabitate. We cohabitate.
Cohabitating right now, commingling.
Nah, that's called fornication. That's what you're doing, right? So it says marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers, men, and adulterers, the Most High will judge. So anybody who's living in adultery is going to be judged. And man, to be perfectly honest, you're blessed that you have grace and mercy right now, because if not, you would be stoned, you'd be put to death. You would be tried before the priests. They would find you guilty, and you'd be stoned before the whole congregation. And that's how they put away the evil out of Israel.
Yep.
Right? So Most High willing, one or more brothers, sisters, anybody take something from this lesson and applies it, right? And it's gonna take you to be very humble to do that. Because it's like we were talking about, man. It's one thing to hear correction, to hear scriptures, right? But it's a completely different thing to hear them and apply them to your life, because that takes humility. And most people are not walking in humility. As a matter of fact, let's go to 2 Corinthians. We'll finish there.
A lot of people don't want to have that conversation with themselves.
It's easy to tell somebody this, and this, but then, like you said, that what was the brother that made? There was a brother that made a song. It was called "Man in the Mirror."
Michael Jackson.
Nah.
He ain't no brother.
No. There's a brother. Man, I see his face in my head. I'm gonna look for it later. It was a good song. It was a good song. But that man in the mirror, it takes humility to look at that man in the mirror and say, look, you're doing this, you're doing that. You really need some correction. It's easy to give others correction, but it's a lot harder to look in the mirror and speak that correction to yourself and take it.
Really?
Go ahead. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 21.
2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 21. And least when I come again, my God will humble me among you, and that I shall bewail many which have sinned already, and have not repented of the uncleanness and fornication and lasciviousness which they have committed.
So we have to humble ourselves, right? Because if not, we're gonna be just like these men and women that Paul was talking about. There was many people that hadn't repented of uncleanness, of fornication, and of lasciviousness. Right? So Paul was saying he was dealing with this back then, before social media, before the internet, before TV and all these things. And we know that these things are getting worse and worse, right? Because it says all throughout the scriptures that man and evil is going to wax worse and worse in these last days. So uncleanness, fornication, lasciviousness, which all of these things can lead to or be a part of adultery. So what do we have to do? We have to repent of these things, which means you ask for forgiveness and what? Don't do it again.
Yep.
So I was just wondering what your thoughts on the group IUIC was, because where I live, they're the only Israelites I see was considering going to the school this Shabbat. Thoughts? Okay, what the only thing I'll say about them is, okay, so first of all, a seeing eye and hearing ears are of the Most High, right? So I always tell people, look, I can give you advice, I can give you scripture. In the end, that doesn't matter if you don't have discernment, if you don't have eyes to see, if you don't have ears to hear, things of that nature, right? But what I will tell you about them is that they said that they get the what's his name, Bishop Nathaniel.
Yeah.
Okay, he said they get vaccines. He said if you have to get, I shouldn't even have said that, right? Just saying that word is gonna get this shit, the Salakia is gonna get this flag. But if it's the Most High's will, right? They said that they get inoculations, and they said if you have to get it, he said there was some sisters that they're part of the congregation and they're nurses, and they said, well, if I don't get it, I'm gonna lose my job. And he said, look, we get the jab, go ahead, get the jab. That's the first thing. The other thing was, I don't know if I showed you that picture that a brother had sent to me. It said something along the lines of, I'll post it on my story for you out if you're following me on Instagram. It was something along the lines of weak people. How did it say? I don't want to. Oh, it's on this phone that I'm doing the live on. It said something along the lines of weak people feed the sheep, real leaders feed lions. But Yahushua said that he was not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then there's other things.
He's the good shepherd.
There's other exactly right. Yahweh is my shepherd; I shall not want. What is that? What does a shepherd tend to? His flock of sheep.
I said a shepherd don't tend to no lions.
And it's something that's at that level, right? You don't do things like that on accident. Another thing was I posted a video of them making fun of the names of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? Which is just that's beyond me. There's many other things, but in the end, I'll say that's going to be up to your discernment.
Out of the heart proceedeth evil thoughts.
There was also a sister that had reposted one of their posts, and it said the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and it was him and two other elders from their church, their so-called church congregation, whatever you want to call it.
And just to add this in there, they actually claim that Bishop Nathaniel is Elijah the prophet.
Khan. Who didn't somebody make a video on that?
They made a video talking about how he's so-called Elijah the prophet.
So the scriptures in Ecclesiastes say there's no remembrance of the former things. So there's no way that's like when Yahushua said, if you can accept it, behold, Elijah, and he was talking about John the Baptist. Yep. But when they asked John the Baptist, he was like, what? He was basically saying he's not Elijah. Why? Because there's no remembrance of the former things. So even if, and I'm not saying he is, even if that Bishop Nathaniel was Elijah the prophet, there's no remembrance of the former things.
So how would they know?
Right. So there's many other things I could point out, but again, that's up to your discernment. That's up to having eyes to hear, or eyes to see and ears to hear. That's up to the Most High putting that spirit on you. I would definitely pray for discernment, and like Solomon, I believe what Solomon said in Proverbs, the 30th chapter, remove far from me vanity and lies.
Yep.
Right. So whatever it is, I would pray above all things that I'm guided in truth. Right.
a great prayer to ask for.
Come. So remember, adultery is a sure path to death. With that, I'll say Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, Barakatah to all the people that are sincerely striving to follow the Most High. And call hello Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Hope y'all stay in the spirit. Till tomorrow, we'll be back on here at 9:30. I might move it to 10 tomorrow, but I'll post it up on my Instagram. Right? You can all praise to the Most High. Shalom.